So to be effective, increasingly what you have to do is respond less to your emotions and more to your intelligence. So when someone says something to you that you respond to emotionally, you just go, ooh, ugh. And then you respond that way, does that help you build a relationship with that person? Probably not. So the goal here today is to understand in this session why you do what you do, how you are motivated. If you get this, if you'll bore down, if you'll think about this and allow me to get you outside your comfort zone. Outside your comfort zone, you're going to feel uncomfortable when I start talking about this stuff, then you'll grow. If you don't get out of your comfort zone, if you always do what you've always done, then you'll always get what you've always gotten. Right? If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. So success is about getting outside of your comfort zone. We have a new student.
Hello.
I'm Chris Derry. Your name, sir, is?
Jonathan Phillips.
Jonathan Phillips. Nice to meet you, sir. So if you're successful today, when you leave class, you're going to have been outside of your comfort zone. You're going to look back with greater perspective. It's going to give you more self-confidence, because the more you know about yourself, the more you can understand others. That's the course. More about self helps me understand others. When you can do that, then and only then can you persuade effectively. Because what's persuasion about? It's about understanding what other people need and then figuring out how to fulfill that need with some product or service that you have. The first thing we have to do today is I have to remember names. I wish this guy worked better. I'll do my best. Now, if I don't remember your name, it's not because of you, because of this. Miss Jones just told me her name. So Miss Jones. Miss Mall. This is Mullins. But this is Miss Montgomery. And this is Mr. Shame I forgot. Phillips. Mr. Phillips. Mr. Phillips. Mr. Help me.
Fields.
Mr. Fields. Mr. Fields. And here's Mr. Hubarth.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce that right?
Hubarth.
Hubarth.
Yeah.
Mr. Hubarth. And Mr. Courtney. 4 letters. It's Huey. Okay, I had it. I was thinking like a chopper. Huey. And Miss Charles. Mr. England. Mr. England, just like king. Queen. And Mr. It's not, I'm going to guess, Wenger? Mr. Wenger, good. And Mr. Cullen. Thompson, because there's a Thompson right there. You got the Thompson twins. This is, how do I get this one? This is Parker. Miss Parker. Ooh. Miss Tate. Okay, Miss Tate. Thompson and Head. And Lowe. Mr. Lowe. Mr. Walsh. Miss Ferguson. Mr. Odom. You were sitting right here last time.
Close.
That's
So
all right,
just
that's all
over
right,
here.
that's all right. Doesn't matter. C, it means. It starts with an H.
That's right. And then a vowel.
This is not, what's that word game? This is not. Price, this is not that. So help me.
Harness.
Harness,
Yeah.
that's right, harness. And Mr. Munt and Mr. Burton. This is Mr. Holmes right here. Oh man, I can't remember. Mr. Milburn. Mr. Noonan. And Miss Montana. Okay. I'll get better. I'll get better. Two things today. For Charles and Phyllis, I recorded my session last time. It's up on YouTube, and you can access it on Blackboard under content. Anybody else wants to review that for whatever reason? You can. It's up there on. I just uploaded it this morning. And today is Ralph Smead Day. I know that doesn't mean anything to you, but this was Ralph's. Ralph died last year at the age of 88. He was one of my very best friends, and he wore bolos. He had 100 of them. And when he died, this was one of his favorite ones. I was one of the pallbearers, so I got to select one of Ralph's bolos. We all wore bolos at the funeral. And Ralph was a libertarian's libertarian. And he believed in the principle of liberty. And that all of us, that the United States of America is this great nation where all of us can pursue our liberty. And the opposite of that he called statism. That's the belief that the state can solve our problems. Ralph didn't believe it, and his motto was, let's make statism unpopular. So what does Ralph's favorite pen say? Look at
The world's oldest profession.
No, right here.
Statism sucks.
88 years old. He was a kook. We talked every day, and my life is worse when Ralph's not around. So Ralph, I'll read you his pen. So if you got one of his pens, you're forced to read it, right? So here's what it says. The world's oldest profession is more honest than statism. You know what the world's oldest profession, everybody know that? Okay. Then if you open the little clicker, oh, he has this. Ralph just died. Obama's stimulus law is raw statism. Statism clobbers individual rights and expands government, always promoting the welfare state mentality. That was Ralph. Statism means way too much government. You click on this thing. Sometimes spelled state, S-A-T-E-ism. Statists are control freaks. Lobbyists get rich through statism. Liberal media plus statism equals big nanny government. And then here's his website. SmeadOnStatism.com. Ralph Smead. Yeah, you'd love it. He was. He'd always say.
Is his website still up even though
Yeah.
he's okay?
Oh yeah, it's still up. It's Smead on Statism with a -ism. Smead on Statism. If Ralph were here today, he'd bug me all the time. He'd say, Derry, he'd say, what'd you do today to save the Republic? All the time. What'd you do to save the Republic? And the fact that the law is one of the books on your extra credit is Ralph. It's a real simple book. Any of you going to become attorneys? Okay, if you're going to become an attorney, you have to read the law. If you're even leaning that way, you have to read the law. Written in 1850 by Frederick Bastiat. It's a classic. Sometimes I get off the subject for important reasons. So today, let's now talk about motivation. So, have you ever met someone you didn't like? Where'd you going? Right away. So what'd you do? Ignore them. What did you do, Miss Montano? Where are they? They're back here. See Mr. Mullins and Miss Thompson. Test it to make sure it works now. We understand how to use it. All right. So did you ever meet someone you didn't like? Mr. Cullen. What'd you do? And then I asked Miss Montana.
I tend to not people please, but be nice to people regardless.
So when you disagree with someone, you disagree like this. Mm-hmm.
Well, not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But
You
I'm
know,
nice
I know the styles of people go, mm-hmm. That doesn't mean I agree. It means I'm listening to you. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Doesn't mean I agree. So what else do you do? Miss Montgomery.
I not to be around me if possible.
Yeah, you do this, right? So, have you ever purchased anything from someone you didn't like? Mr. Ingram? Now think back. Think back. Would you ever buy something for someone you didn't like? Well, you go to Walmart. You go to Walmart. You don't go there because you want likable service. You go there because they have low prices. At least that's what they say. And a lot of times they have low prices. So, give me an example of a situation where you bought something from someone you didn't like. Somebody. See how hard it is? So, we're going to talk now about the source of why it is many times that you decide not to relate to someone else. We're going to talk about things you're passionate about, motivations you're passionate, and motivations where you're indifferent. And where someone is indifferent to something that you're passionate about, Mr. Cullen, the indifferent person goes, who cares? The passionate person says, you're crazy. You're insane. I mean, why aren't you excited about this? I don't care anything about it. The basis for most arguments lies in a misunderstanding of motivation. So, let's talk about it. I want you to turn to page 7 in your profiles. Now see the graph at the bottom. Let me explain what you've got here. You're going to have to read it. I'm going to walk you through this little graph that's at the bottom right. But the graph is then explained for you by the 6 motivators. How many of you taking statistics? For how many of you have statistics taken you? Okay. Well, this is a practical application of about why statistics is important to know. I only wish I'd studied more. What you have here is mean and standard deviation. So what percentage of the population is incorporated in one standard deviation about the mean? 68, 66, 68%. So that if you're above the mean, above the one standard deviation, that's represented by 16% and 16% below. Got that? So if you're within the mean, it means you're in 2/3 of the population, roughly. And this is an intensity scale. So if you're above the mean, if you're above one standard deviation above the mean, it's this passion. This is the more passionate you are about this value. If it's low, it means you're indifferent and you don't give a you-know-what. Mean is the horizontal line. It's on the graph. And then on your chart right here, take yours. It's the first one. There's mean 6.2, one standard deviation. And Mr. Cullen is a little bit lower than one standard deviation above the mean. Indication of passion. Now, if you're passionate about something, does that mean you're right? If you're indifferent about something, does that mean you're wrong? No. Now, you're going to feel it, but it's not true. So let's talk about the first one. Any questions before I go on? Now, this is a requirement of this class. If I explain something and you don't get it, or you have a question, please raise your hand. Yes, sir.
All right, after we...
That's all good. But you get a Derry dollar for being the first one to ask a question.
Thank you.
You just lost it because you had a non-word. No.
All right, so after you take the analysis test, did you like take the time to email us all separately, or I set up?
What?
I didn't that one. Did you email us back?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if that was like a computer generated thing.
No, I emailed you back.
Do I really keep saying that?
Yeah. Like.
Oh, like and okay.
Like, any word that doesn't add value in the sentence is a non-word.
Gotcha.
That's one. Just kidding.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I believe I emailed everyone. I could have slipped up a couple times. That's my bad if I did. Any other questions? Let's go through it. Number one, let's put the mean in here. So the mean here is about, somebody give me the number. 45. Utilitarian is about 60. Aesthetic is down here. Social is 50. What is it? 45, okay. And individualistic is up here.
40.
Oh, it's below? Below social? How about that? And traditional?
35.
35, okay. There we go. Theoretical drive. This is the drive to learn more. If you're passionate about theoretical, you tend to learn just for the sake of learning more. Who here has a score above 1 standard deviation above the mean? Ms. Thompson. Right here. So yours is theoretical, almost right at the top. Who is passionate about theoretical? Yes, sir. Okay. Social is your number one, individualistic, traditional, and they're attached to those definitions up there.
So how can I tell the meanings?
The mean is the score in the middle right here.
Okay.
What are the lines that go outside it?
That's 1 standard deviation about the mean.
Okay. And what if you're just outside that?
Yeah, if you're outside, if you're on the plus side, it means you're passionate.
Okay.
If you're on the bottom side, it means you're indifferent.
Okay. Thank you.
Everybody got it? So who here, does anyone have a score above 1 standard deviation above the mean on theoretical? Mr. Harness. Mr. Harness. And Mr. Walsh. Prediction. When you guys get on the internet, you're curious. You go link, 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 learn this, do this. You're curious about a number of things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep. Now, let's take someone who is really low in theoretical. Now, this does not mean smart and stupid. This just means a drive to learn just for the sake of learning. Versus someone else who's low, who is small. Okay. This is not intelligence, please. Once again, this is not intelligence. This is simply the curiosity to learn more. So what you do when you learn is you say, what do I have to learn? It's a professor. Okay, tell me what the syllabus is. I want to do this. I want to get an A. This. Extra credits, you'll say, how much extra credit? Well, is this really for the class? Because I got a lot of other things in my mind. Right? See? Now, here's where the fight comes. Mr. Harness and Miss Small go out. Okay? And Mr. Harness, who is interested in, what are your active interests?
I like music.
Ah, thank you.
Music.
Music. You like music? Both got the same. Well, that's another, that's aesthetic, that's coming up. Another subject you're interested in.
Food.
Food? Food? Maybe you guys ought to go out. Something else you're interested in.
Art.
Art.
Yeah.
Yeah, now, is your aesthetic high?
Very high.
Aha, you got it. Hey, tell me about this. There's a potential for a relationship right here. I'm trying to get a difference. So when you go on the internet, what do you tend to, some subject?
Whatever's on my mind. If I want to know something, I'll go to the internet. I won't just go and dig though. Unless a forum pops up.
So the idea here is when Mr. Harness waxes eloquent about something that he's knowledgeable about in a small. I lost your attention. And looking across at him going, I was bored 6 minutes ago. And he says, you mean you don't know anything about that? No. And the high theoreticals look down naturally on the low theoreticals, and they think they're stupid. Be careful. Ever done that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's natural. Oh, because I prize knowing more just to know more. So here's a perfect example. Just when you start to look down, think to yourself, now wait a minute, is this me or is this her? Is this my big theoretical getting in the way? Stop using my emotions and use my intelligence. Just pause for a second. If what? If you want to build a relationship. Any questions on theoretical? Utilitarian. These are the national needs, United States. Utilitarian. The drive to always get a return on investment of everything you do. Who's passionate? Utilitarian. Mr. Holmes. Mr. Holmes wakes up in the morning and his list of what he's going to do pops into his brain and he's rank ordering all the time. Should I do this? What he says is, A task will yield X results. B task, X squared. C task, X cubed. You do the X cubed. All the time. Yep, that's what I do. It's about me. It's about return on investment to me. Now, let's talk about someone who's a low utilitarian. Who here's a low utilitarian?
Is that one standard deviation?
Yes, below. Mr. England. So, you guys are having a beer. And Mr. England says to Mr. Holmes, what's up? Oh, I was just at work, I was just doing this, and then I did that, and I got excited about this, and here's what I'm doing. And Mr. England, whose utilitarian is low, that's not how he's motivated. He's motivated differently. So he says, oh, you talk about his work. I mean, what's all this stuff about money? Right? And how do you feel about that? What's wrong with money? You crazy? Money's what makes the world go round. Are you out of your frickin' gourd? I mean, listen, there are lots of things in the world that you have to uncover. I'm interested in the ones that make me money. Right? Now, when you get there, again, this is adding to your intelligence. When you're in that conversation, if that utilitarian is strong, that's why you do what you do. It's not right, wrong, or indifferent. It's you. So you say to yourself, I'm great. Every one of you should be saying about these values, this is me. Put your arms around yourself and say, oh, I'm great, I'm terrific. And now with this as a value, you can look off at Mr. Holmes and you get all this utilitarian and you can smile. You can say, hey, here's a big utilitarian. I'll bet you he's a really good guy. He's just motivated differently than I am. Why is this important? Because if you're going to persuade someone else, you have to be likable in their eyes. And if you have different value systems and they conflict, inside people go, nope, I'm not buying. It's like, yeah, great, oh yeah, I'll call you next week. Oh sure, what they're saying is, get out, I'm done. And you walk out and you think, oh man, I had a great presentation. I know he's going to buy because he was smiling. No. If you can predict how another person is motivated, then you can align your product and service in alignment with that motivation. I know how to motivate Mr. Holmes because he's motivated to get a return on investment. So I had to talk to him about this class. How many utilitarians above the mean? Raise your hands. Yeah. It's out that there's something that's practical about this class. Someone has told you, like you get something for this. That's a utilitarian drive. Questions on the utilitarian? Is it good if you're high? No, it's good for you. But it's not good universally. Is it bad if you're low? No. It's just you. Questions before we go on? Yes, sir. Mr. Lowe.
Right. Hey, could this be skewed a little bit? Like, I'll give you an example. My mom she works for a nonprofit, almost no money at all. But she almost makes no money at it all, but she spends probably 40 plus hours a week doing that. Now, she would probably, if it was economic, would rank very low because it's not motivated by money, but she is a hyper-organized person and is very driven.
Now that is a behavior. Now we're gonna
Okay.
separate those.
Okay.
Behavior next time. Now we're just talking about drive. Her drive is right here. We're gonna talk about her coming up.
Gotcha.
Other questions? Now let's talk about aesthetic. Aesthetic is the drive. And notice in the United States, it has a low mean. This is a description of our culture. If this were France, if this were Italy, the aesthetic is higher. The aesthetic is the drive to secure balance and harmony. Someone who wants balance and harmony goes through their life wanting to feel good in every environment they're in. If they don't feel good, they say, nah, I don't want to do it. If a high utilitarian matches up with a high aesthetic, matches up. Utilitarian says, let's go out to eat, and let's go where it's cheap. Return on investment. I get full, less money, right? You know what I'm talking, Mr. England? Mr. England says, high aesthetic. No, 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 no. The food there is horrible. How do you know? Have you ever walked by and smelled the food, right? Utilitarian says, what are you talking about? Well, when you go to Walmart and you get that little steak, don't you smell the steak over there? It's no good. You know? How do you know that? Hey, I just know. Hear the difference in the aesthetics? My wife is an aesthetic off the page. One of the reasons I married her. I didn't know it at the time, but my aesthetic is buried. So high aesthetic, low aesthetic, because of that imbalance, there is the potential for lots of disagreement. I say to my wife, I don't say anymore, let's go out for dinner here. She goes into her mind, thinks back the last time she was there, if it was pleasing the last time, she says, and they have food that she liked, that felt good, right, Mr. Engel? It felt good. She'll say, oh, okay. That's where she goes. My wife can remember what the weather was like on virtually any day in the past. Can you do that? Can you do that? Yeah, Christmas, like last Christmas, where you were. Was it warm? Was it cold?
Warm.
Was it, see, it's warm. Low aesthetics? How do you do that? I can remember it was Christmas, but what did I get? Utilitarian, right? What did I get? Oh, I didn't get very much. Oh my God, where was I? What was I doing? What was I able to accomplish? That's the utilitarian. Can aesthetics and utilitarians have arguments? If they choose to. See, if you use your intelligence and you know the other person is a high aesthetic, low aesthetic, this is not male-female. This is values. But a lot of guys have low aesthetics. How many guys here have an aesthetic below me? See? Low aesthetics, they can, and high utilitarians, it is whatever keeps me warm. Right? And it's whatever I have that's clean. A high aesthetic wants to make sure it's clean. My wife, she's a cleanliness nut. I love it. That's not me. But if I leave things dirty, guess what happens? Out comes the fickle finger. So I don't do that. I pick up my stuff. You know, I try my best to keep things clean. But if she saw my coffee cup, I left coffee in last semester when I left, and I came in today, and my first notion was, I wonder how that'll taste. No, wash it. So you got the aesthetic, low aesthetics and high aesthetics. It's a really, I know, I live there every day. If you have a high utilitarian, low utilitarian, you know what the biggest disagreement's about in a relationship? Money.
We have a high utilitarian and a high aesthetic.
Ooh, high utilitarian, high aesthetic. Is that you? Okay. The utilitarian says, me, and the aesthetic says, ooh, isn't that cool? So you work to buy the stuff that's cool. And when you have enough money to buy all the stuff that's cool, you stop working. You haven't got there yet. See, you haven't got there. But see, this is in sales sometimes. If you have a high utilitarian and a high aesthetic, and I'm the sales manager, what I have to help the person do is identify really cool stuff they want to buy. Right? Because then they'll respond to that incentive. So you say, well, what do you like? I like art. Do you have a Picasso? Oh, I couldn't possibly afford a Picasso. Oh, really? If I can get into your mind, something that you think is, go to a concert? Go to a concert? Oh, see, you want to see the Rolling Stones in London. Would that be cool?
Yeah.
Well, maybe. But see, if there's another group, you say, oh, I'd love to see them. Well, they're going to be in Belgium. And here's the deal. Here's the goal. You get to this goal, I'll send you to Belgium. All expenses paid. Ooh, see if you can fulfill the person's motivation, then they'll do it. Questions? Now let's talk about social. Social is the drive to help people. When you get above one standard deviation above the mean, it's to help people to one's own detriment. They'll help till it hurts. They won't feel any pain. They'll just say, wow, if you're, whose mother I was talking about? Your mom. She spends 40 hours at Relay for Life. She's there 40 hours. Low utilitarian, high social. She comes home, it fills her up. Let me tell you what we're doing right now. The high utilitarian, low social goes, oh no, another one of Mom's stories. Mom, why are you spending all your time doing that? You're not earning a dime. That's what you think. But now when you know the social is there, what do you do with Mom? You say, Mom, that's great. You play into the motivation. When you do that, you build a stronger relationship. Now, when I was in Chattanooga years ago, working, had my suit on, going on a sales call. Here comes a guy between me and Mr. Harness. He gets right to about there, and he goes, had his shirt on, he goes, oh, I'm so hungry! Big black scar. Had open heart surgery, and the surgeon should have been shot. It was ugly. And I said, ooh, that's horrible. But my social's low. So I'm a skeptic. But however, he's hungry, so I heard him. He's right there. So I look at him and I say, okay, McDonald's is right there. I say to him, I'm thinking to myself, great performance. Hey, you got me. That's a good pitch. I said, do you want a burger? I'll buy you a burger. He said, no, man, can I just have $5? What'd I say? Nope. Now, high socials in here. Were you just offended? But see, you thought, ooh, that was kind of crass. Why you would say that? So, anyway, I laughed at him. I said, no, man, go ahead, have a great day. And I walked on. I turned around, next guy. Oh, I'm so hungry. He was a salesman. He was selling free lunch money for his scar. I thought, that's really clever. I mean, the guy he could have gone on welfare, but no, he was making money with his scar. Now, high socials. Doesn't that seem pretty crass and horrible that I would think that way? See, you can say it, it's okay. See, this is the difference between socials and low socials. Socials want to pour out everything. They want to give till a low social would say it hurts, but to a high social, there's no pain. It's pleasure to help other people. It's a wonderful, wonderful value. Low socials say, I'll help people, but they have to help themselves. See? Then I'll help them. Questions on the social?
See, I'm like almost
Mike?
I'm almost a standard deviation above social, but I also feel that to help others, they have to be able to help themselves first. So I'm not going to put myself out there unless somebody else wants to help themselves. So I'm kind of conflicted with how I'm.
You're in the mainstream. You get a 6.5 on a 5.7. You're not passionate.
Right.
If you're above one standard deviation, that's where the passion comes in. So you're still mainstream.
Right.
And I want you to get in your psyches this notion of how passionate you are. Because once you understand that, and you hear, if you're indifferent and you hear the passionate argument, you begin to look down your nose at the other person. Stop. Say, wait a minute. Is that my social? Why am I feeling this way? Because if we want to be effective in our lives, we ought to use our intelligence more and our emotions less. This is one of the tools that helps us do it. Other questions about social? How about individualistic? Individualistic is the drive to control you, to control your actions, to control your destiny, ultimately to control the destiny of others. So who here is, on the individualistic, is above one standard deviation above the mean? Mr. Mullins? Okay, we got some high individualistics. Good. Now the individualistics are, of you that just raised your hand, are you now, raise your hands, are you a leader in some faction, in something right now at Western? Lower your hand. If you are not, keep your hand up. If you're not. If you're high individualistic and you're not involved in a leadership activity.
At Western.
Okay, leadership activity where?
Umbrella. I coach the softball team, third grade softball team.
Okay. No leadership at all?
You said he's behind us.
Kind of, which means? Right. So, have you ever been captain? Did you ever want to be captain? Of course! Of course, it's individualistic. Have you ever quit something, an organization, because they wouldn't let you be a leader? Yeah. See, it's power-driven. Individualistics are the ones who naturally want to step up. Now, is this because of your parents? Is this because of genetics? The answer is, we don't know. All we know is, when you answer the questionnaire, the output is valid. That means if you answer this way, the chance that you are is very high. We don't know why. And it doesn't matter, because what we're trying to do is understand ourselves, really what motivates us, so we can keep our intelligence going and get our emotions out of the way. And the most difficult style to do that, Mr. England, Ms. Small, is you guys. Emotions lead. My wife's way off the scale. She said when she was in her 20s, she went to Western. In her 20s, she was a hippie way back in the 70s, big time. We would have not have gone out back then. I went to the Air Force Academy. See? At the Air Force Academy, a special detail, I also played football. So the football team, when we had parades, this is in the early 70s, the hippies from University of Colorado, from Boulder, would come down and try to disrupt our parades. And the football team was right there to make sure they didn't. So I was talking about leadership, and where was I going with that? Who knows? Okay, so have we discussed individualistic? Okay, low individualistic is, I don't care who leads. I don't care who's running for president. I don't care about that stuff. I mean, the high individualistics, this is really important. You have your views. Yeah, this is right, this is wrong. Why? Because you ought to take an active interest. You ought to get in there. That's the high individualistic. The low individualistic says, I mean, you're awful. I mean, what's the description? You're pretty dogmatic about this stuff, about what you believe. To a high individualistic. High individualistic says, there's something wrong with you. I mean, you got to get behind something like this. You know, you got to take an active interest. Individualistic says, low, it says, no, I don't. Questions about this guy? All right, now let's go to the last one. Traditional. Yes. Ms. Mkt. That's you. Okay, traditional, a passionate traditional. Have any of you seen the old movie, or the old musical, Fiddler on the Roof? Well, in the movie, it's a story of Russia, and there's a Russian father, big burly guy, and he sings, "Tradition, tradition," has this big song. And his kids sing, "No, father, no tradition, the world's changed, Russia's different." And the father says, "No, tradition, tradition." That's high tradition, low tradition. It's a sense of, I'm right, you're wrong. Versus low tradition is flexible. You have your views, I have my views. Now, when Spranger invented the model, he called this religious. It's broader today than religious, but the purview is still correct. Someone who has a strong attachment to their faith tends to be a high tradition. It doesn't mean atheist Christian. It means adherence to the principles involved. If you're Catholic and you're a conservative Catholic, you're up here. I'll use this as an example. I'm going to use this, and if someone is a really conservative Catholic, this is going to offend you. Okay? One of my best friends up in northern Kentucky. He has 16 kids. His brother has 14. Okay, they're serious Catholics. And they prefer the Latin Mass. This guy built his own church so he could have a Latin Mass. We're good friends. He calls me into his office, shuts the door, says, "Chris," he said, "I've wanted to have this discussion with you for a long time." He says, "You know you're going to hell." I know he's a high traditional. I'm a low traditional. His view, that's his view. So he is passionate. Why does he have me in his office? Because he cares about me, because I'm a friend of his. And this is something that a high traditional would do to someone they care about. Was I offended? No! I said, "Jim, I really appreciate you reaching out to me. Thank you very much." That was the end of the discussion. He just had to tell me. You got this traditional? Now you can get in lots of trouble, in lots of arguments about low traditional, high traditional, can't you? High traditionals, they have a tendency, if you're really high, Miss Montana, if you're really high, it means that this right, wrong, black, white, of how you kind of view things, casts a shadow over all the rest. This is right, this is wrong.
Confusing me.
Well, this is, again, I got you outside of your comfort zone. It's like, I was just fine until you told me that. It's like, am I okay? Oh, yeah, of course you're okay. But here's the added value. Now that you understand that this traditional value drives you, the next time you get involved in a discussion and you begin to get upset or you begin to get passionate about something and you see the other person back away, that's my traditional. See? Questions about the traditional? Yes, sir.
I have a question about like all of it together. Is there a place, sorry. Is there somewhere where you can go and see like political leaders?
Whoa! This image I'm promoting is now I'm way you're way outside your comfort zone. Like, well, I don't even want to talk now. Okay.
Political leaders, and if they had taken this, like what they would have scored.
Oh yeah. Almost everyone in Washington D.C. has a high individualistic. You know it. Because that's why they're there. They're trying to affect national policy. Well, who the hell are you to try to affect national policy? What are you talking about? This is important. I mean, I have this view. I know this is right. We just have to do it this way. When you understand that, you can back off, smile to yourself, just like Mr. Ringgold. He says, "Oh man, I see this clear as a bell," right? "Oh, I got this friend that does this all the time." So instead of saying, "You jerk," to someone else, you can smile. You can say, "Oh yeah, listen to that traditional." You can smile and say, wow, you have really strong opinions about that. Yeah, I sure do. And then that enables them to continue talking about it. Listen, if you want to build a relationship with the opposite sex, figure out how they're motivated and get them talking about what motivates them. Right? Now, if you are motivated this way and all you talk about is you, and you guys are going out, how's that feel to you? I don't think I'm going to go on the second one. Now, how much time we got here? 27. You got 10 minutes? 8 minutes. Well, we have a little bit of time. Let's apply this. Yes, sir, Mr. Munn.
I was just gonna ask, how do you rank those for you, like 1 through 6?
Oh, I am here. 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 That's a good question. You just earned a Derry dollar. Good question.
Trying to get to know you.
Gotta get to know this guy. I can figure out how he's motivated. Maybe I can get what I want, right? I like it. Utilitarian high in you?
Yeah.
Aha, see? See? This dog hunts. This dog hunts. Now let's apply this, just for fun, with relationships. This is really good. So you're going out with somebody you're interested in, and you want to have a good conversation. And you look across the other person and you say, I don't want to just have a good conversation. I think this is someone I am really interested in. So how do you begin to develop that relationship? You ask questions about their values, about their motivation. So, you ask the individualistic question. You ask, what do you think is important? And I'm going to say, the low individualistic says, what are we talking about? High individualistic says, well, what I think is important is this. And when you get that answer, guys or girls, you ask this question. Why? Why is this important to you? And you listen. And you figure out what's really important to them. And in the first 5 or 10 minutes, you can figure out whether this is going in the right direction or the wrong direction. You can learn. Then if you really want to get under the surface, you ask the 3 whys. Ever done this? What do you think is important, Mr. I want to cheat. I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Milford?
Mr. Milburn. What's important to you, Mr. Milburn?
Family.
Family. Your family's important. Why is that?
Because they've supported me and taught me everything.
Perfect. I got a great family. They've supported me. Why is supporting you so important? I'm going to stop you right here. Because what I'm going to do in this is I'm going to go right down to the things that he really believes. And that is a great discussion. The 3 whys. You can do the 3 whys on any of these values and have a marvelous conversation. What do you think aesthetic? What's the question? Mr. England, what do you think is beautiful? Life is beautiful. Really? Why do you find life so beautiful? Okay, we can stop. Notice I'm getting personal right away, right? I don't feel good about telling you all that stuff. I don't know you. What's this about? But one-on-one, you can have a great discussion. Isn't this better than who won last night? I know, girls. I know you're all saying this. Guys, this is a much better conversation than who won. And listen, I'm a college football freak. What is your view about money? Interesting discussion. What do you enjoy learning? Can uncover in each one of these how someone is motivated. Now, I can tell you, I didn't have this system. Did I have this system? No. My wife and I have been married for 25 years. I found this profile 20 years ago. But I knew that my wife was the right one. I knew it. I just had to persuade her. I had to get her in the right environment, really high aesthetic. So at one point, I was working for a firm and I asked for a promotion. I went to Vanderbilt, got my MBA. I was ready to move up in the company. And I asked for the promotion, they wouldn't give it to me. Said, no, do this and this and this and this. Okay, did that and that and that and that. Went back. Okay, now I'm ready. No. I want you to do this and this and this. Wait a minute, what is this? I thought this was the company that if you were ambitious, ambition was rewarded. No, the founder died. This is the next guy. So the third time I went in and I asked for the promotion, he said no. I said, okay, cash me out. I was already a partner. Nobody cashed out. Nobody left the firm. It was so profitable. I said, no, cash me out. Went home. Nancy and I were going out. I said, well, I quit. I saved my money. So you always want to have pocket change. You always want to have money in the bank so you can quit. It's much better if you get a job and then you quit. So I said, I'm thinking about going to Australia and New Zealand for the winter. Want to go? She said, okay. Didn't take that aesthetic very long. And we went off to Australia in January of 1988. I married her in New Zealand, in Queenstown, New Zealand, on March 13th. Proposed to her on Valentine's Day. And I asked her the morning of, we were in a discussion about what we were going to do when we got home, and I said, I think we ought to get married. And her aesthetic, she said,